Folks, so funny story here. Dr. Daphne Bascom, our guest today, had reached out to me and we set up an interview. In fact, I was interviewed on one of her podcasts just last week, and she sent me her bio, and I looked at her bio, and as we were starting the podcast interview, I realized it was all wrong. I should have been interviewing her, not her interviewing me. And you'll understand why, I think, in a very short period of time. She's amazing. I'm going to read her bio here just because it has everything to do with my first question. So, Dr. Daphne Bascom began her career by earning a doctorate, that is a Doctor of Philosophy in Physiology at the University of Oxford, and then an MD degree at the University of Pittsburgh. And then she completed a surgical residency and a fellowship in microvascular and reconstructive surgery of the head and neck at the Oregon Health Sciences University. So let me just stop there for a moment. Clearly, we are dealing with a gross underachiever. Earlier in her career, Dr. Bascom held multiple vice president and chief medical officer roles at Cerner Corporation, now Oracle Health. She also served as the chief clinical systems officer at a small clinic called the Cleveland Clinic Health System. More recently, she served as senior vice president and interim national health officer at the YMCA of the USA, where she scaled evidence-based chronic disease prevention programs nationwide. And most recently, she served as the vice president of population health at the St. Luke's Health System in Kansas City. Now, I had to read all of that because this is the part where I am really, really curious about, and it gets really interesting. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So, putting all of that behind us somehow, or her putting all of that behind her, she made a crossover, and she is currently a specialist in lifestyle medicine. She is the chief operating officer of something called the Vegan Gym. That's right, the Vegan Gym, which we're going to talk about. It's a digital health platform dedicated to plant-based performance, health span, and longevity. And she hosts several, and I said several podcasts on lifestyle medicine. And she's also the founder of something called the Longevity Lab. So, first of all, Dr. Bascom, Daphne, thank you for being with us today. I literally, when you were interviewing me last week, the only thought I had on my mind was interviewing you. So I am so glad to be doing that right now. How's it going today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for that overly generous introduction. And I need to apologize because I was so intent on our conversation last week that I lost track of time. I could have spent another couple hours speaking with you.
I have to say, it was fun. It was really, really fun. And I'm looking forward actually to hearing it. I shared things with you that quite honestly I've never shared with other folks. So you did a great job and made me feel very comfortable.
Thank you.
So, Daphne, look, you have a PhD in physiology from Oxford. You've got an MD degree. You've got a surgical fellowship. You were chief medical officer, at Cerner. You served as in the YMCA, National YMCA, as the interim national health officer, vice president of population at St. Luke's, on and on. And this is very, very traditional. I mean, you're a scientist, you're a physician, a surgeon, a healthcare executive in traditional organizations. How long did you follow that career? I mean, it feels like you've lived a couple of lifetimes already, although you don't look it at all. But how did you make that shift? Why and how did it come about that you went from that over there to becoming a lifestyle medicine specialist, and not just becoming a specialist and a clinician, but you are a leader in this thing called the Vegan Gym. You founded the Longevity Lab. I mean, could you just take me through that? Like, what happened in your life and your career that even sparked that interest? And how did you make that? I mean, how did you learn all that other stuff and get into that? I'm just really curious.
Oh, that is well, first of all, thank you for asking. And I love how you ask what happened to you,
Mm,
um, because I also think that's a question that we should ask patients more often.
yeah.
I I think what happened to me
Hmm.
was never coming to the point where I thought I was doing what I was meant to do in terms of focusing on health and not focusing on illness or, I don't want to say sick care, but I always wanted to help people be healthy. And I didn't necessarily have the opportunity to do that as a surgeon, as a physician, because usually people were coming to me who already had a significant state of advanced illness. So whether it was from a clinical perspective, I saw the same thing in population health. And you've been in this role that, for years we've been talking about population health. We've been talking about community focused intervention. We've been talking about social determinants of health. And I just kept feeling like I was hitting my head against a wall and feeling, I don't want to say depressed, but, despite the fact that I was advancing the bottom line for the healthcare system, I wasn't improving health. Not in the way I had ever envisioned it. Probably the closest I saw was when I was at the YMCA.
Hmm.
And even then, we partnered with an essential hospital. We worked closely with other, with universities within the Kansas City area. That I saw, was huge inroads. But usually it was the medical system that provided the barrier for how do we advance this further.
Hmm.
So I just
Was
kept
there,
chasing my passion.
yeah, was there a moment or that you recall where you just it sort of clicked for you that as you describe it, you were focused on disease and illness, which again, I'm sure you agree, important work, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Obviously. But you were not actually helping people stay healthy. And was that a personal epiphany? Was it a professional epiphany? What was that about? Was there that what happened? Was there a moment you could recall that sort of was that sort of trigger, if you will?
It was personal. And
Mm,
part of it was watching both my parents um, succumb to chronic disease. And my my mother died from COPD. Um, and, watching her wither away was one of the most painful things I've ever done. But I remember my dad, because, my goal was to, how do you advocate for your own family? Because even though these were educated people, they they had knowledge about how to be healthy and how to stay healthy.
mm,
Navigating the system was still an amazingly incredible, frustrating situation. And my
mm,
dad asked me once, "What do people do who don't have a you?" Um, and the name Wingman, which is my Instagram handle, my website is Wingman Wellness. That actually came from my dad because
wow.
he called me his wingman. Just navigating my mom's illness and journey to end of life, and then doing the same thing with my dad, I just realized that there had to be better options for other people. And I learned a lot. I wish in some ways I had known what I knew at that point in time
Mm,
when I started my medical journey, because I think I probably would have been a different kind of physician.
mm,
But that was really, it's personal. This is personal to me.
mm. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I think that's important. Um, I mean, what you're doing in that transition was not it doesn't sound like it was a career decision. It wasn't based on financials. It wasn't based on a lifestyle you wanted to have. Um, it wasn't based on ideology.
Yeah.
It wasn't an academic decision. It wasn't even one potentially of interest. It was more of this is reality. Something's wrong here.
Mhm.
And what I'm doing is not addressing what I see wrong here. And it is almost kind of out of necessity. I mean, I'm struggling to find that description of what you went through. And I think, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about my own story again, very, very personal as well. How did you make that transition in terms of learning? Because I assume this was new and different than the skills and knowledge you had in terms of
Mhm.
lifestyle medicine. So, how did you retrain yourself?
I think we are all lifelong learners. Just as you trained as a physician and then you navigated and learned how to become a healthcare executive and learned about the business of medicine, which is a whole conversation. The same iterations, I think, when you're passionate about something, the learning is fun. So I'm never afraid to say I don't know. So it's learning from people around me. It's educating myself. It is, I had a mentor, an advisor when I was an undergraduate, Dr. Privatera, and I remember him saying, read voraciously.
Mm,
So I'm a voracious learner.
mm,
And I think that is how when you see a problem, and you've trained in Lean Six Sigma, we learn how to be problem solvers. That's what we are as physicians. So
mhm,
it's just a matter of how do I get the knowledge to solve this different set of problems and apply
mhm,
it
mhm,
and not be afraid to say I don't know or
mhm.
not be afraid to step into something new because it's
Mhm.
the right direction to go.
So, the vegan gym. So you learned. So it's one thing to
Uh-huh.
learn and become adept at this. Did you start to practice this? And so that's question number one. And yeah, how did you went from letting go to learning this new thing? And did that, was that part of a practice or what did you do with it?
Uh, that's a good question. First, I'm not board certified in lifestyle medicine. I keep think I keep chasing certifications and wondering when does that end?
Right.
Uh, I keep thinking about it. So not Susan Benegas, who is an amazing woman who leads ACLM, not off the table yet, but just wanted to make clear I'm not board certified in lifestyle medicine.
Mhm.
But I started practicing. If I really think back, I started learning about the principles of lifestyle medicine when I was at Cleveland Clinic
Hmm.
because I had the benefit of working one night a week in their Wellness Institute. So
Oh,
back
wow.
then they had a program called Lifestyle 180. And initially that offering was to employees. So we would bring our
Mhm.
team members who had opportunity to improve their nutrition, their exercise.
Mhm.
It was a program that Dr. Michael Roizen started. And
Mhm.
that was where I was really, that's where I also received a lot of training. I have to thank the
Mhm.
team there because
Wow.
whether it was from the nutritionist, whether it was from the behaviorist, whether it was from
Mhm.
the exercise physiologist, we had a chef that was there. So
Wow.
I saw it in practice and I saw it with
Mhm.
people that I worked with every day who
Mhm.
benefited from understanding. We would sit down and go through their labs, there'd be tears, come up with a plan
Mhm.
and implement it. But that was my initial introduction when I was practicing it.
I am so
Mhm.
curious. I went online and tried to figure out what the vegan gym was or is. And how did you find them? Did you help create them? And what does the vegan gym do?
I found them.
Okay.
So the vegan gym was co-founded by Leif and Anders Arneson. Leif, who is the CEO, is a former engineer, and he found the vegan gym after going through
Mhm.
his own cancer scare.
Mhm.
So he was diagnosed with cancer, and on his path to understand how, why, what can I do, and
Mhm.
also to make decisions around treatment, no treatment, based on what traditional healthcare was advising. He read T. Colin Campbell's book. He really started exploring what some may say are non-traditional avenues for treating himself.
Mm,
And that was incentivizing, initiating reason why he founded the vegan gym.
mm,
Um, and he was working full time as an engineer, but
mm.
as he
Wow.
started posting and publishing and seeing opportunities to share this with other people,
Mm,
that became his motivation, his mission to help people maybe to, let me I guess it's really to using the phrase aspire to inspire. So if we can help people become fit and healthy, the hope is that this movement will spread, both veganism, minimizing cruelty to animals, focusing on the environment,
mhm,
but using fitness as a model for bringing people in and then helping them spread the message, because there's no way that we'll be able to communicate to a million people, which is part of what the mission is. The Vegan Gym itself is an online health and fitness coaching program. We are completely virtual. We have coaches around the world. And the entry point for most people is to, they're either looking for a coach to help manage their body composition journey, or they're looking for a coach to help navigate a chronic disease, or they're looking to add more plants to their plate. So maybe they're not plant-based yet, but they're wanting to become so.
mhm,
But to me, the gym is a metaphor for life. And so
mhm,
while people come into the gym for fitness and
mhm,
nutrition,
mhm,
what they find is that this is a place where you can focus on mindset, where you can focus on overcoming challenge, where you can focus on removing limiting beliefs and all of the other things that are important in navigating life. Our initial, our initial patient client population was really focused on weight management,
mhm,
but we have clients who've been in our community for 2+ years.
mhm,
And so over the past 2 years, we have created opportunities in education, because it really is an academy model. It's not you just come in and you get a coach, but we have master classes, we have an online
mm,
curriculum.
mm,
It really is educate, empower, and engage.
mhm,
But shifting from the short term, how do I look and feel, to who do I want, how do I want to look and feel in my
mm.
80s and 90s? So
Yeah,
we've morphed from I'm focused on I want to lose 10 pounds to I want to be fit for life.
yeah, yeah. And it sounds like fitness, not just physical, but other, emotional issues around purpose and things like that. You know, why vegan?
Hmm. Hmm.
What, and you and I talked a little bit about this when you interviewed me. And I don't want to dive into it too quickly because I do have some specific questions about it, but you're a scientist, you're a physician. Um, what what attracted you? I mean, there are other organizations you could have joined, but the vegan gym specifically, vegan is a core part, plant-based diet, if not plant-exclusive diet,
Hmm.
right? Is I think more, more that's what veganism is. What attracted you to that? Why, and how do you justify that from even from a medical, scientific perspective?
Hmm. So first and foremost, I want to make sure anyone who's listening or watching, I am happy if people add more plants to their plate, um, because the evidence is there for plant-based, plant-forward nutrition being a key lever that we can pull in terms of preventing, reversing, or managing chronic disease. And this is why nutrition is also, plant-based nutrition is a key pillar for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I started life as an omnivore, so I've not been a lifelong vegetarian vegan. It was at one of the ACLM meetings where we had a pre-screening of the Game Changers movie that
Mm,
I became more open to understanding. the
Right.
evidence and the data, which is
Mm,
longstanding. I mentioned T. Colin Campbell's book. I mentioned Dean Ornish's studies.
mm,
We, going back to Cleveland Clinic, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, these conversations are not new conversations.
mhm,
It has just been, I don't know if we've been in a position to hear it and apply it.
mhm,
And the incentives have not necessarily been aligned to say,
mhm,
this is what we need to do.
mhm,
But veganism was my choice initially for health. And
mhm,
I actually experienced significant health improvements when
mm,
I became plant exclusive.
mhm.
But then I also went down the rabbit hole, as many people do, and started better understanding. I didn't know where my food came from, to be
Right.
honest.
Right.
I didn't understand how
Wow.
animals were being harmed
Yeah.
in bringing food to my plate. I didn't
Yeah.
understand the impact to the environment because no
Mm,
one told me. I also
mhm.
wasn't looking, but once I started looking, I couldn't unsee that.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you see it, yeah. Um, it's really interesting. I think I mentioned to you, I'm sort of devolving into a vegan. Um, for me, as I started to over the past year or two start to interview nutritional scientists and physician scientists who are expert in metabolic health, and
Mm-hmm.
folks like Chris Gardner, who leads
Uh-huh.
the Stanford Nutrition on Health, and Dr. Ludwig and Dr. Lustig and Neil
Yeah.
Barnard and Mike Greger, and
Yeah.
the one you start to hear things, and when you start to hear many of these people whom I respect, there's a small group. They're not trying to sell you anything. They don't have got supplements or lotions and potions and elixirs and injectables. They're just talking about the science and medicine of metabolic health and nutrition. And the one thing I kept on hearing over and over again was plants,
Mm.
plant-based diet. And so when you start to hear this sort of convergence, that's when it starts to, then I really start to notice it's like, they all have different things, but that one thing is really common.
Mm-hmm.
Even the blue zones, right? Dambutina, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, and so to your point, this is not a new science. It's been around for a while.
I don't want to call it a myth, maybe misconception. I feel that many people think that if I move from an omnivore diet to a plant-based diet, I will automatically lose weight or automatically I'll get healthy.
Mm,
That is not the case. And
mm,
part of it is, I think, due to the fact that a lot of plant-based foods are now not necessarily whole foods. So
right.
10, 15 years ago, trying to find, the breadth of plant-based foods that we have today wasn't possible. You
Mm,
can you can find plant-based anything, high protein anything, but those
mhm,
foods won't necessarily, and just being plant-based alone will
right.
not necessarily become this magical body composition health solution.
Right.
Now, yes,
Right.
plant-based, becoming plant-based, you can reverse your type 2 diabetes. Believe that. You can definitely reverse, improve your heart disease. Your
Mhm,
lipid panel will improve. We see it every single day in the vegan gym. We have a whole Slack
mm,
channel where we share client wins. And this is simply from implementing a combination, because I don't think any of these work in isolation, of focusing on whole plant foods, because foods are information to your body. And I don't think I know we didn't learn about the microbiome in medical school, but I think as we understand more about some of the benefits of plants holistically from our
mhm,
health, we're
mm,
understanding why they're important. But you can't just eat your way to health. You need a combination of
mm,
exercise,
mm,
focusing on your sleep, focusing on your stress.
yeah.
You have to
Mm.
do them all.
Yeah, no, that's great. I appreciate you saying that. Um, I did want to ask you about the longevity
Hmm.
lab.
Hmm.
I went online too, and that seems very, very cool. I just couldn't quite figure out what it was, but it seems very futuristic. Um, so tell me, if you share a little bit about the longevity lab.
Definitely not futuristic. It is today.
Mm,
So we launched the Longevity Lab, um, and it's Longevity Lab and not Health Span Lab because I like alliteration. But we launched a Longevity Lab at the end of December 2024, 2025, sorry.
mm,
And the goal was to provide an opportunity to deliver dedicated education on what are the things that will keep you healthy for the long term
mm,
because we're a reactive population. It's
yeah,
easy to react as opposed to be proactive.
mm,
So we created a framework which we've called the Health Span Heptathlon, and it's based on the seven core components of our plant-powered blueprint, where we talk about mindset, nutrition, movement, sleep, stress, community, toxin awareness, and health data
mm,
intelligence.
mm,
And I don't want to say we've gamified it, but
mm,
the Health Span Heptathlon is a construct that
mm,
allows participants in the program to first baseline themselves. So where are you today?
mhm,
And then how do you create a path forward so that you can achieve the goals that your 90-year-old self will need to see
mm,
for you
mm,
to be independent, healthy, fit, and functioning at 90? Part of what we're trying to do is to curate information and to provide an evidence-based, trusting foundation
mhm,
because I think the swamp of information out there
mhm,
today, it's
mhm,
hard for anyone to navigate.
mhm,
So it's a combination of one-on-one coaching. It's a combination of
mm,
I've created a library of modules, starting with talking about what is health span, talking about the hallmarks of aging, and then we have a 24-month curriculum that breaks down each month and looks at one core component of the health span heptathlon and provides participants with an opportunity to reflect on what am I doing so that I can, at the start, we have them write a letter to their 90-year-old self.
mm,
So, who does
mm,
Daphne want to be at 90? And
mm,
then how do you get there? Because our goal is to make this sustainable and to make people independent, but not to have this, what I see is up and down
mm,
where we do things and we're doing it really well for a while, then we go into a lull. This needs to be consistent, focused,
mhm,
evidence-based, and it needs to become a priority for you.
mhm. What is the relationship? So the vegan gym, online, global, this virtual platform where you can get coaching
Mhm.
in various pillars, not just in nutrition, right? But in a
Mhm.
lifestyle, right? And now the longevity lab has, as you mentioned, seven pillars that you talked about, like
Mhm.
sleep and movement. Um, so how are they? Why the longevity lab versus the vegan gym? And if I was trying to figure out, hey, they both sound interesting, which one should I look into, right? Or join
Mhm.
for that matter? Yeah.
That's a great question, and the fact that it's not clear means that we need to articulate it better. The everyone in the longevity lab is part of the vegan gym, and most of the members of the longevity lab have been through our core coaching program already. So they may have been part of of the vegan gym. We call it the Vegan Superhero Academy for anywhere up
Mm,
to 4 months, up to two
mm,
years.
mm,
So it is a progression in
mm,
people's journey through our programs from we call our first phase program Ignite, and we call our second phase program Momentum. People who are part of our Momentum program are offered the opportunity to participate in the Longevity Lab.
mm,
So you still get one-on-one coaching, but in addition to that, you get a clinical consultation with a physician. We provide
mm.
function health labs. Everyone gets
Okay.
a whoop.
That's in the
And
longevity lab. Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you get access to that 24-month curriculum
Mhm.
and the health span heptathlon.
No, that's great. Thank you for that. That's really helpful. Um, I know you have a very serious interest in making sure that longevity, lifestyle medicine, these things are accessible and
Hmm.
available and
Hmm.
affordable for all people. The
Hmm.
issue of that, health equity. How does that with the vegan gym and the longevity lab? I assume there's a cost to it. I'm sure
Hmm.
there must be.
Hmm.
Um, how does that, I know you're doing some work with the ACLM, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. There's an initiative about health equity. How does that figure into this? And are you, yeah, just kind of curious.
Oh, that's a complicated question. Um,
Okay, I had a feeling it was. Okay, let me retract that
no,
because I
no,
know,
no. It's a good question
yeah.
because it, anyone who, so whether you're starting a lifestyle medicine practice, whether you're
Mhm,
starting a
mhm,
program like the Vegan Gym,
mhm,
um, in a way, I'm back at
mhm,
an epistemological quandary
mhm.
because now there's a business behind it,
Yes,
and there is a revenue model associated with running the
yes,
Vegan Gym. I've
yes,
got, we've got mouths to feed, being the coaches and the team
yes,
members.
yes,
So if you're living month to month
yeah.
in terms of, living paycheck to paycheck, you probably can't afford to join the vegan gym.
Mhm,
No. My my side quest, I would
mhm,
say, is
mhm,
delivering messaging through things like working with the Heart Smarts program that's out
mhm,
of New York City, um, we had a free community for a while. We called it just a
mhm,
Thrive on Plants community,
mhm,
but I became the rate limiting capacity in terms of being able to deliver all of the free programming and deliver an amazing experience to our clients.
mhm,
So a lot of I don't want to say free, a lot of the easily accessible information, education, I do that on the side because it's important to me.
mhm.
It is not necessarily part of our current model, but it's something that in my heart I need to do.
Yeah, no, I know that about you, and I thank you and appreciate that. It is, you're again interested in a real problem in terms of how to expand this and bring it to people who might not have the financial means to to afford these sorts of programs. Um, you know, another barrier, when I think about, in chemical reactions, there's an energy required, right, to
Activation
catalyze
energy.
it. What's that? What's that?
Activation energy. Yep.
Activation energy. Wow, taking me back. And I think even for people like myself who have the means, the financial means to, let's say, join something like this, there are bundles of activation energy to make this
Mhm.
reaction, catalyze a reaction. I mean, one of which is, and I think about, even myself, my wife, just we don't know how to cook vegan. We don't know how to
Uh-huh.
do that. It's really, I mean, what do you buy? What do you, I mean, there's only so many days in a row that you can eat salad. And so, cooking tofu or, beans. And again, I think that, to me, the cooking part, the food and the cooking
Mhm.
is a real barrier.
Mhm.
Even for those who are interested in this. And people typically, I mean, the first reaction I get from friends, when I don't even mention anymore that I don't even talk about it because it's just not worth it. Because you get all kinds of like, God, that's horrible, boring. You're taking the joy out of life and all this sort of stuff, like, that you're not eating meat or whatever. But I do think it's to make it to create that sort of diversity that to make it palatable. I think there's there's some knowledge and expertise required to do that. It seems to me that. So I'm just kind of curious, and maybe we can sort of, I know we're almost getting to time here, so maybe, but I'm kind of curious because it's a big issue. Money's a big issue,
Mhm,
and what do I eat is a big
mhm.
issue.
Zev, the good thing, and thank you for bringing that up because the majority of our nutrition education is free.
Hmm.
So for anyone who is plant curious,
Hmm.
um, and I apologize if I didn't share it with you, we have a Leif created a plant-powered body course. It's a 4-hour evidence-based course. It's free to anyone, and it walks you through the science and the application of adding more plants to your plate.
Hmm.
After the course, if you go on our YouTube channel, all of the content there that is created is also free. And most of it is nutrition focused because we know that is sometimes the biggest barrier. So if you want to learn how to cook tofu, if you want to learn how to add more lentils, if you want to
Hmm.
understand how do I create a
Hmm.
balanced plate, protein, fiber, fat,
Hmm.
but also meet my caloric needs, that's what
Hmm.
we use the YouTube channel to focus on that. And all of the recipes,
Hmm.
everything, including shopping list, if you watch the YouTube video and you want to prepare a meal, all of that's available free of charge to anyone who's interested because the food has to taste good. It has to help you meet your goals. You
Right.
don't need a culinary degree in order to cook it. And so we actually have fun
Hmm.
creating those videos and the recipes and the
Oh, that's great.
menus because when you can make the food appealing,
Yes.
you've lowered one barrier of entry.
It's a huge barrier, right? I mean, I think
Mhm.
it's a really huge barrier. So people can learn more about you by looking up the Vegan Gym, the Longevity Lab, going on YouTube and just putting in the Vegan Gym.
Mhm.
Where else can people find you?
We also have the Thrive on Plants podcast.
Yes.
And if you, I mean, occasionally when I find the time, I'll ruminate a little bit on my blog, which is Wingman Wellness. Um, and usually that's just where, and you're probably the same way. If something catches my attention, I externally process by writing. So I will create a blog post. I don't do it often enough, and I'll
Hmm.
post it up on my website.
Yeah. I just want to say, Daphne, Dr. Daphne Bascom, it's so encouraging and inspiring to have met you, to have learned a little bit about the amazing work you and your colleagues are doing. And I know this is not the last time we're going to speak. In fact, I'm looking forward to following up with you in a number of ways. So just thank you for what you do.